Good afternoon. Hey, I thought we ought to start by thanking the people who put on this event. It's been great, huh? Thanks for coming to Dallas. Invariably, over the past day and a half, you've heard countless cutting-edge ideas. My hope is you've had your fill of cutting-edge ideas now, because you're not going to hear any of them from me. Instead, I'm going to share my theory of relativity, or more specifically, the timeless truth of scientific marketing. I thought that this presentation would be appropriate today because we live in interesting times, somehow sandwiched between extraordinary promise and debilitating peril. A time when companies and individuals at any moment seemingly can experience the thrill of victory or the agony of defeat. Former behemoths of business, BlackBerry, Zynga, Netflix, even Facebook, in a matter of months or even days, can suddenly become vulnerable. Consumer demands for transparency, relevancy, immediacy, and value have never been greater. But here's the good news. If we pull together, this could be, this should be, this can be the best of times. I thought I'd start this presentation by trying to give you a perspective on the current marketing ecosystem, and do that by showing you a film I created a year and a half ago. Now, the film might not be timeless, but I think it's still timely. So sit back, relax. This will take 43 and a half seconds.
Mobile is global. LinkedIn is in. Twitter sure glitters. Foursquare is there and there. But look at Facebook and gotta know SEO. Amen for SEM. Say hey to display. iPad ain't a fad. Email doesn't fail. Can't bail on the mail. Not alone without of home. Wanna be on TV. And let's go with video. And what about curation, monetization, optimization, quantification, organization, collaboration, application, localization, globalization, visualization, micro-segmentation, strategy, resignation.
I love that film. I just wish it had a happier ending. You have all these fabulous channels and techniques vying for attention, and then the world blows up. I'm thinking, can't we all just get along? But the truth is, if you're a marketer, things are a bit crazy. Suddenly, you have to orchestrate social, mobile, email, mail, display, television, point of sale, SEM, SEO, telemarketing, remarketing, websites, insights, analytics, and a myriad of suppliers, agencies, and IT professionals to deliver a seamless experience across the full spectrum of channels for maximum impact at minimal cost, making sure every interaction with every consumer is buzzworthy and extraordinary every moment of every single day. And if you're like me, you also have to make sure you get your kids to school on time. It's not easy to do great marketing these days. You told us that. So we polled some of the best marketers in the world, you, and we said from an integrated marketing perspective, are you doing messaging? Are you integrating messaging across channels, timing of deployments, customer and prospect data, data analytics across channels? And the vast majority of you said, yes, I am trying to do all of that. However, the vast majority of you, in your own estimation, said, I'm not doing any of that effectively. Same is true in social media. About 85% of companies are using social media as a critical component of their go-to-market strategies now. But about 50% say they don't have a really good handle on the return on investment from those expenditures. And the other 50% are lying. All right, they're exaggerating. I know, I heard those last two presentations. The truth is, we are suffering from a series of Class A problems. When you have so many communication alternatives, how do you do media allocation in the best fashion. With our hyper-connected marketing ecosystem where you might send a promotion code to 200 people in an email, it gets picked up by a blogger and makes its way to a deal site, how do you do attribution efficaciously? In a world overwhelmingly bombarded with data, how do you decide what data to store, what data to ignore? And who should do the analytics? Maybe the most confounding Class A problem that many organizations are struggling with is the organization of all this, and to whom they should give the authority to make those judgments. I would suggest to you the only person should have that authority are people who understand the data, understand customer centricity, and have in their DNA the notion that I am going to deliver accountability in my marketing. Hopefully that is you. Now, if you ever feel slightly overwhelmed about all you have to know, maybe it will give you some solace to know that things are changing more frenetically than ever once again. You see, it was in 500 BC that someone said change is the only constant. And then, you might remember in 1650, someone said the only thing constant in life is change. And then Isaac Asimov in 1978 had an epiphany. The only constant is change, which proves to me the more things change, the more they, well, you know the rest. Now, this is a picture of my son. I don't know what it is, but every time I want to take his picture, he has to do something goofy. I didn't think my daughter had that same inclination until one day I turn on my computer and I find this. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Which brings us back to marketing. Obviously, in marketing as in life, things change. Technology advances, behaviors evolve. Yet there are certain undeniable truths that have existed through time. Back in the 1800s and early 1900s, through the print period, then through the radio days, then the television era, then the golden age of direct mail, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and now through the social and mobile revolution. But who knows these truths? There's a community of practitioners who have dedicated the entirety of their careers to the study of scientific marketing. In 1898, Claude Hopkins starts to use A/B split testing, maybe the first to ever do so. In 1923, he publishes his learnings in a book called Scientific Advertising. In the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, John Capel spends 30 years practicing A/B split testing and publishes his notions, his learnings in tested advertising methods. In the 50s, 60s, and 70s, David Ogilvy builds on the shoulders of giants, as he might express it. Since then, folks like Steve Dapper, founder and chairman of Hawkeye, have built on our body of knowledge in the digital age. So what can we learn from these masters of marketing? Well, I want to tell you these timeless truths in a way that you, in fact, might remember. Now, you might remember years ago there was a book called All I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Now, what you didn't learn in kindergarten is that all you need to know about marketing you learned in kindergarten too. Let me show you what I mean. Here's the first timeless truth. I'm going to tell you 10. Slow and steady wins the race. Now, a whole lot of people say, slow, what do you mean? This is the age of real-time marketing. Speed to market is critically important. So for those of you, I want to say the early bird does catch the worm. But let's talk about slow and steady for a second. About a year and a half ago, there was a book published called The Lean Startup. In the book, the author, who's also a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, tries to find the commonality among progressive, inventive companies that are winning these days. He reaches the conclusion that what's consistent among these successful companies is something he calls continuous innovation. They go to market quickly, they fail fast, they analyze rigorously, they iterate constantly. I read that and I say, duh, that's the core essence of the approach that scientific marketers or direct marketers have been honing and practicing for over 150 years. I've likened that through the years to the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen, meaning never-ending improvement. Now, maybe continuous innovation is improvement over never-ending improvement, I'm not really sure, but we now know it's a timeless truth. The second timeless truth is to mind your P's and Q's. Well, forget your Q's a second. Let's just mind your P's, and by that I mean the 4 P's of marketing. Somehow in the last 10 or 15 years, marketing has come to mean advertising. Many organizations have marcom departments. I say, come on, if in fact you want your marketers to have influence, marketers ought to be able to do marketing and influence 4 Ps. For years we understood through rigorous testing that the most important predictor of success was the essence of the product you would offer. Then it was to whom you were targeting. A great ad to the wrong person would do infinitely worse than a lousy ad to the right person. Then the question, what was the essence of your offer and the price that you were providing it? And last and least, albeit not important, was your creative expression that you put forth through advertising. You know, the last few years in social media, many people got frustrated because social media wasn't working like advertising should. And they weren't realizing the benefit of social media for listening or customer service or corporate reputation. You need to mind all your P's, and hopefully no one in your organization will mind. 3, seek and you will find. You know, we live in the age of big data, but unfortunately most of us live in organizations with small budgets. So how do you reconcile those two realities? Well, it'll take me too much time to explain this in totality, but I want to leave you with one notion on this point, that all data is not created equal. You find the data that you think is going to make the most meaningful difference in your business, test a small data set, and you can find that it can drive your business highly cost effectively. And you will know it because there is safety in numbers. So marketing has become a numbers game. Maybe that was always the case. 60 years ago, John Caples writes, I have seen one ad do 19 times better than another ad. A few years ago, I was curious. I said, I wonder how that works these days. I asked someone in our media department, I said, tell me the best performance of the best media and creative combination versus the worst. They do all of the analysis. They say the disparity is 1,200 times. So imagine it's your money. You're spending $10,000 on advertising. In the best case scenario, you're going to get $12 million. In the other scenario, you're going to get 0. So human beings are creatures of habit. You put a communication against a large enough sample size, in most circumstances, you're going to find their behavior is remarkably consistent. You can take it to the bank, and you should. I was listening on one of the prior presentations talking about Facebook, and the speaker mentioned that Gap has determined that the best time to send an email is Thursday morning at 9:32. So that's the proof point that to everything there is a season. We always knew for years that in most product categories, rainy days work better than sunny days, and January is better than February, and daytime is better than prime time. And sure enough, now we know that if you're the Gap, send your emails at 9:32 on Thursday. Number 6, timeless truth. Make new friends, but don't forget the old, because one is silver and the other is gold. If you have $1 to spend on marketing today or 100 years ago, you should spend it against your best customers. They're most likely to give your best response. Now, many companies make the mistake of spending a disproportionate amount of their money trying to lure new customers as opposed to getting their existing customers to endure. We all know the story of Zappos, or most of us do, but for those who don't, when Zappos started, they decided not to spend a single dollar on conventional advertising. They had a marketing budget and they put it back into their customer experiences. And they felt if we could create remarkable experiences, our customers would remark about that and we would build our business. They understood this core premise that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe this is the most important part of the power of social media. Look, we always knew geo-targeting worked and prism data worked. But now your obligation is to find the subsegments and microsegments within your social community to make sure your business can fly. And how do you talk to consumers? Well, you should know that you are the sunshine of your life. You know what the most powerful word in advertising is? Well, there we go. You are right. Most times people say the most powerful word in advertising is free, but sure enough, it is you. You want to be skinnier, you want to be richer, you want to be happier, you want to be healthier. If you understand that fundamental of communication about you, you will be infinitely better off, if you know what I mean. I'm getting to the end. Number 9. I've been doing accountable scientific marketing for most of my life. I'm smart enough to know now that I'm not smart enough to have all of the answers. So we test. If at first you don't succeed, you try again. I was reading Wired magazine about a year ago. Middle of the book are 8 pages on A/B split testing. The article talks about the epiphany Google had in 2005, discovering A/B split testing, and how more and more companies have got religion in Silicon Valley. I'm reading this. I'm saying A/B split testing, that's a concept from the 90s, the 1890s. But sure enough, it proves that there are timeless truths in marketing. So last, and certainly not least, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You can leverage big data. You can capitalize on machine learning. You can use the most aggressive technology for customer engagement, and you can live mobile first. But if you want your company to last, you have to put your customers' interest first all the time. Any company worth its salt has a community of enthusiasts. Your job is to make them evangelists. And you'll do that by providing the most individualized, customized solutions that you can possibly afford based on your knowledge of those people. I want to close with a story. I work for a fabulous company, Hawkeye, located right here in Dallas. This is our worldwide headquarters. We have 12 offices around the world. I live in New York City, which means I often don't live in New York City, if you know what I mean. So a few months ago, after traveling incessantly, I'm all enthusiastic one Friday night to get home to see my wife and kids. Unfortunately, my plane is late. I'm getting home at 1 in the morning. I drag myself to my front door, and then suddenly I see this: "I love you, Daddy." And as upset as I am that I'm late, I'm gratified to see this. So when I was preparing this presentation, I came upon this little note, and I realized as I looked at it that represented in that simple piece of communication is probably the most important distinction that we have ever gleaned in all of our years of rigorous testing and analysis. And that is, if you have the data, if you have the information to say something meaningful to another human being, your response, be it from a prospect, a customer, a friend, or a loved one, will be infinitely greater. And that will never, ever change. Being incredibly relevant is the essence of this theory of relativity. Hold it in your heart, live by it, and you should live happily ever after. Thanks for your time.